Hi. What do some of the coldest, driest, and most remote places on planet Earth tell us about ourselves, our planet, and our future? How do scientists work in the polar regions, where flesh can freeze in seconds, gear just doesn't work, and you can be isolated from the rest of humanity for months at a time? My name's Neil Shubin, and I've had the great privilege in working in the Arctic and Antarctica for over 3 decades. My teams have found fossils that tell us about the origin of life on land and how fish evolved to walk. We've discovered what we call the dinosaur dance floor, whole platforms of rock that have trackways of thousands of dinosaur footprints. We've discovered some of the earliest mammals. But I'm not alone. I'm part of a community of scientists who've worked for over centuries trying to understand Earth's polar regions. And in these polar regions, we discover some profound facts that can change our lives and change the way we see the world. Look at the organisms, look at the creatures that live there. They are utterly astounding. There are fish and insects that have evolved antifreeze proteins that keep them from freezing, keep their blood from turning into ice. There are insects and worms that can go into suspended animation by making a little sugar that turns their body into a kind of glass until conditions change. They sit in suspended animation sometimes for decades, sometimes, in some cases, for centuries. There are other creatures that grow fur that can keep them warm in unbelievably cold temperatures. And indeed, when we look at the ice itself, we find something remarkable. Miles, sometimes 2.5 miles under the polar ice of Antarctica and Greenland, lie lakes, hundreds of lakes. And inside these lakes are creatures, microbes, that have been isolated from the rest of the planet for millions of years. Whole ecosystems hidden from the rest of the world for millions of years. Truly astounding things. And we can learn so much by studying these creatures, by studying these environments, by studying these special landscapes. And indeed, we learn so much about ourselves. You really learn about yourself when you work in polar regions. It's really, really challenging. And indeed, what we've learned is so much about our past as a species. You know, one interesting fact is most of the history of our planet is the history of a planet with no ice at the poles. In fact, times of ice at the poles are relatively rare in the history of the Earth. And one of those times is during the origin of our species. In fact, our species evolution has been really tied to changes in ice at the pole through ice ages, which have changed species across the planet, including our own. Our past is tied to ice, but so is our future. One of the things to understand is ice may seem so simple. You may look at an ice cube in a glass, but really it's a very complicated thing. Ice can fold and bend and move. And in fact, the ice on the poles is continually moving. It's moved in the past, and it's affected life and the oceans and everything else. But indeed, it's changing right now. And the part of our future is tethered to the changes in those ice caps that exist in Greenland and Antarctica. Changes in the ice can affect sea levels. Sea levels and sea level change can affect the distribution of cities and population centers, and climate, which can affect agricultural belts and political boundaries. In fact, so much of our lives in the past has been tethered to ice, and in the future as well. So if we want to understand about ourselves, if we want to understand about the cosmos, if we want to understand about our planet, we really have to take journeys to the ends of the Earth. Thank you very much.